Everyone, RemanX here, and we're going to debut a brand new tracker. Last night we kind of came to this revelation that Apocalypse is probably going to be the most important character ever to come to Marvel Strike Force. I know, we said that about Dormammu and Doom, but the impact that it'll probably have is more akin to Ultron, and we're going to go into that really quickly because I want you guys to understand why this whole tracker came to be, and more importantly, how to understand why we put kind of our ideas together on this. So, first things first is I want to talk about Apocalypse. Because the Horsemen have these tags, we're assuming, and this is an assumption, that he is going to be in addition to those teams. So we think he's going to anchor your arena team with the other four Horsemen. We believe that he'll probably be get the speed up for Red Hulk and make sure that he's on the Red Hulk team in War. And he'll buffer the team in Raid as another mutant character to take into raids if one of your mutant characters dies, or more specifically, on things that he might specifically target now and into the future, which is the one thing you want to consider is they usually build these characters and then, have an obstacle for them to specifically overcome in the future. And then finally, the Crucible. Having Apocalypse will dictate whether or not you're winning your Crucible fights. And all of this is going to be your progression going forward if they continue on these trends. So Blue ISO 4, I've already made videos about how I think it's probably a failed implementation. And I don't want to say failed, because they're probably going to make money on this, but failed in the fact that it took away theory crafting and made us really boxed in and really hard to make recommendations about this. So we took all of the information we have. Now, the victory blueprint is gone. What looks like happened is they took the victory blueprint stuff and threw it into the war rewards and threw it into the Crucible rewards. So we took all that information, and thanks to Rondius, who did the math for me, we found a way to articulate the concerns that I had here. So let's talk a little bit about this. When you go into this sheet, there's a URL in the bottom of the link. You could also like and subscribe to the channel if you so choose. I don't ask for that very often, but I appreciate when you do. You can take a look at the URL that's inside there. You're going to go in and you're going to make a copy. You make a copy so that you can edit it. Until you do so, you will not see these drop-down menus. So, currently, the coordinated assault milestone repeats twice. It is required that your alliance works together to complete this milestone, and the best way to do so is to save your Strike Pass ISO energy that's in there until needed, and also collect some additional energy during the off time in preparation for this. Spend a couple of cores on it if you can. There's individual trackers that a lot of alliances have, but you want to max that out. You can see that what not doing it does by adding this periodically, if you're not doing it at all, versus whether or not you're doing it, adds that time. We're going to talk about the War League. So let's talk a little bit about Cosmic Crucible. It was when Cosmic Crucible first came out, people weren't sure if it was going to be valuable, and we were always concerned they were going to tie some significant rewards to it. Now that it's flowing more fluidly and people are getting more involved and they're selling us more teams, I can say that it's definitely more important. So at Gold 2, guys, you're getting barely any. Remember, Gold 1, no Blue ISO 4. At Gold 2, you start getting Blue ISO 4. At Gold 3, you get some more. It's really when you start getting to Platinum that you start seeing the weeks drop off. Okay? But even if you go from Platinum 3 to Masters 2, that's about 4 weeks that you're saving for making that effort in Crucible. So one of the things that we were hearing a lot was that War didn't matter. Now, the problem with this is War has been mattering more and more over time. They've been selling us teams for War offense, like Mr. Negative, like the Undying team with Iron Man. These have specifically been keys to kind of being able to beat your opponents by having this extra offense. And so it's a big deal. Imagine if you were in like a Diamond Alliance and somehow you allowed yourself to drop down lower because you didn't care about War. You've added 8 weeks on for all 24 people because you decide you don't care about War. So how do you care about War now? Well, you can't. You can't climb very easily with this. Unless you start voiding your defenses and going a little more offense heavy and having defenses that your opponents may stumble over, and have certain wars that you have active and you discuss with your alliance and win more than 50%. Remember, this assumes the 50% win rate. You're not going to be climbing very fast. So I want you guys to understand, I don't want you guys to be like, I'm done with my alliance, I'm quitting them, and I'm going to go fight an alliance that's in Diamond. That's not the intention of this video, and I hope that's not what you're taking away from this. What I'm taking away is you want to work with your alliance, come up with a plan so that you guys aren't left behind. Because again, this character is going to be the most impactful character. Otherwise, they failed us. Imagine if he's not, after all the hoops we've jumped through. So I'm making a mighty assumption. And the mighty assumption is that G16 largely doesn't matter in your chase for Apocalypse. And the truth is, it doesn't. For many players who are either recently acquired Dormammu or going to acquire Dormammu, those resources are being dumped right back into the already revealed Apocalypse teams. For many other players, the Crucible rewards that you're getting are going towards these characters, and you're saving up resources to make sure you do that. Because raid teams don't need the teal gear to be effective. You can actually do them at G15. The real problem is going to be the blue ISO. So if you take a look at this, for many players, you're probably around 7 to 9 characters based on the average assumption of where you've been from the freebies we've gotten / the current Crucible War. 7 to 9. Again, that fluctuates wildly. We're assuming Platinum 2, Platinum 3. We're about 70% of the Platinum 1, Platinum 2. We're about 70% of the alliances are right now. And then the Crucible Gold 2 and above, or sorry, correction, Platinum 2 and above. If you've fallen below that, you're going to be a little bit lower on these target numbers, assuming that you were able to do Victory Blueprint when it showed up, and assuming that your alliances are going to do that. Otherwise, you're probably not going to have these numbers. Now, again, you're going to put these ions in here. You can drop down the menu and choose the number of characters you have, and so everybody asks me, Rem, where's your ISO blue list? Well, I don't want to be responsible for you equipping a character, especially the Horseman, whose ISO can significantly change when Apocalypse shows up. This right here is the reason, and I am going to say this one more time. Scopely, you failed us. We don't have the ability to make a mistake with our ISO. If we choose a path and we put blue ISO 4 on it just to get him equipped, and we have to change that later because it winds up being better, like for instance, the actual saga for MILF required us to make her a striker for the best effect. You can do it without it, but many players found adding her as a striker had the best effect possible. And that's crazy. That making an ISO change could be that impactful on any game mode when they're this restricted. And this is a massive frustration that I have. So I want to put this laser focused in your mind. Don't waste your ISO blues. Work with your alliance to move up in war, get to a higher win rate. One thing we may add to this is if you could move up the win rate a little bit, maybe go to from 50% to 3 wars versus maybe do 4 or 5 wars. You know, somehow doing that for a small period of time, especially when there's core spending events, maybe spending some cores to help some more attacks come in. I do know free-to-play players that buy all of their war attacks every war early to make sure that they're winning wars. So there's a couple players we'll definitely highlight that, and we'll talk about that more in depth to help you guys focus on that. And we're also going to be doing some more targeted Crucible work on the channel to help you guys identify, you know, where and how to build your teams depending on where you are in the Crucible. Hopefully we can help you with that. Now that we have some more insight, we're going to take some player rosters that are in these different brackets and kind of help them with offense and defense and track them and their progress and your progress over time. But this is the frustration, guys, is you could be as low, if you're at 7 right now in the current rate of blue ISO 4, Apocalypse isn't coming your way anytime soon. It's crazy to think that many players could have wasted some resources on characters that just don't matter with blue ISO 4 because they are in the know. and that this information wasn't readily available. And this, to me, feels like potentially the end of free-to-play if they don't get this right. So again, give me some feedback on this. I'd hate to be, a doomsayer here, but I want to make sure, guys, that you get this information, so help you guys track Apocalypse. If you guys have any questions, comments, we can update this. We'll make some new videos. This may be something that we'll probably, as we make changes, we may make another video to hopefully showcase this to you and get this in your hands. Love you much. Remember, I do things so you don't have to. I've been pulling my hair over Blue ISO 4 for a long time, and now we got the numbers to show you what I was talking about.